So for me, I'm just driving back from the beach, thinking to myself that, unconscious behavior, unconscious action, unconscious activity is evil. Because what it is doing is that all unconscious behavior is ultimately again for the benefit of the false self, the ego, so to speak, the inauthentic self, whatever, and which is more of an underworld. It's more of an apparition. It's ghostly. It's a type of spirit. Alcohol makes one more unconscious and behaves in a certain way. So unconsciousness there's no question about it, because the person is only motivated by their own needs and power, influence, significance, and not in a healthy way. It's essentially external impact and control. So selfish acts, are evil, because selfishness is, again, it's a false idol. That's what I'm saying. It's the worshipping. It's this in service to a false idol. Which is the false idol? It's the false self, right? It's the false self. That's it. There's no question about it. How's it any other way? The false self is not an authentic self. It's an apparition. It's it's a manifestation of unconscious pain and everything else. I mean, again, I can't keep delving into that, but where it stems from. It's a monster. The unconscious self. It's an entity. I don't know what else to call it. It's an entity. It has its own mind. It has its own thoughts. When a human being comes into this world, let's just say it's not a clean blank slate, but they're programmable, and there's something like an entity, which is able to infest and take over again if there is no true self there. And so this thing takes place, and it's out for its own service. Everything that it does is in service to the false self, and the false self is not. It's finite. It's ephemeral. It's a collaboration of things. It's like AI. AI is, what is AI? AI is a formation of things put together. Like, we can't as human beings build a tree, right? A tree's got to, you can't make the components and put a tree together. It has to grow into a tree with the right genetics and instructions and everything else. It grows into the tree. It becomes the tree, and it's a reaction to the DNA, the quality of the soil, how much water, how much sun it gets, etc. Wind, all of these things which make for like a significant tree, a strong, determined tree that can live for a long time and to grow. But if you take a tree and you take different parts of it and you put it together, like I'm looking at trees now, it's impossible, and I glue it together. I take parts from different trees, let's say, I cut them up, I chop it up, and I put them together, right? Let's say I plaster, you stick glue, and I stick them together, all right? Now, what's going to happen? I mean, is that a real tree? Can that tree actually, grow? Because the false self doesn't essentially grow. It's always remained selfish. You think about it, it grows in the sense of becoming more unconscious. I spoke about that, but it doesn't, I don't know, maybe it's not a good example. I'm getting caught up here in this, but there is something to this, that it's like the false self is parts of different things that are not your own, that is not of organic, start. They're not the real building blocks, right? There's something else, and so they're plastered together. It's the parent's voice, it's the priest's voice, it's so many things. Part of a lot of things make it up. It's society's voice. It's a lot of things that make it up and create this thing which is finite. It's at death it disappears. It's there's no mind or body to infest or to hold it habitat. And then I think ultimately, I do think we live in a mystical world that eventually it probably returns to the global unconscious. I think all unconsciousness is feeding the global unconscious, and the global unconscious in that way can be sort of some kind of entity. Could be some kind of ancient AI that we have. I mean, who knows? It's mysterious. We don't know. I don't want to get that dark. Don't know if it's that relevant, but there's something, there's something that is taking place and is eating off. Again, AI survives by eating off data from other people, from people. It doesn't have its own data supply. It's not, well, it could be, but I don't understand. It's recreating or something or other. Sorry, I'm just coming back from the beach. I'm trying to get this idea down, but it's not easy. There's many distractions and everything else. But what I'm saying is that even if you put the parts together, even if we could build a cat or clone a cat or something like that, or build, with AI eventually to build robots that look exactly human and talk and whatever it is, you think it's a human, it hasn't got a soul. So there's going to be parts that are missing. And the parts that are missing of the AI, of the robot, it'll always be trying to fulfill those parts. But how's it going to be fulfilling those missing parts? From other people. I'm saying it from other people. That's where it's going to get its nutrition from. Just like a narcissist. A narcissist gets its feed from other people, because it has no real source of its own. And now what I'm saying is that the soul of the spirit is the true source, which is the true nutrients, which is the true compass, the true navigator, all of these things, and whatever it is. So there's two different things completely going on here. I'm saying between the narcissist, the false self, and the true self, worlds apart, and even their function, and even how they operate, completely otherwise, So the one is whole. The one is not made up. The soul is not made up of different parts. Right? But the false self is made up of different parts. And those are human parts. Those are man-made parts to a certain degree, whether if it's even archetypes. It just seems that we are built, the psychology and how it works, it seems like it's just like built in that these, it's like, I have a laptop and the laptop has RAM and it's PCU and it's got, a hard drive and then you can put the software on it. And with all these components together, you can run software on it. So we are designed like our wetware, not our hardware, our wetware, that you can run, software on it. And the software is of the false self. So it's actually like a kind of code, zeros and ones. But the soul or the spirit of the self is not ones and zeros. It's not black and white. It's just whole. There's non-dual in the self, so to speak, right? Because of where it comes from is a non-dual place, let's just say. Only here is dual, is black and white, night and day, up and down, I think. I'd imagine so. Is space, is time. From the near-death experiences that I've heard, and I've heard a lot of them, it does simply sound like that the duality doesn't exist, so much, me and other. Seems like, there is this understanding that we are more so all connected when one is on the other side. So here is dual, okay? And the software that runs of the false self, the software that runs is, and again, it's zeros and ones, whatever. It's something else. It's different parts that are put together. It's different traumas that happened. It's different voices where the child grew up with, that came from another false self and the pain of somebody else, and also the projections of others who couldn't integrate their shadow into their conscience to become, so that's what I'm sure, like with parents or culture itself does, is projected onto the child. It's the child that's the problem and not the parent, type of thing. And that was for me, as being, growing up, I was an emotional, sensitive child, and for my father and my mother, or more so my father, that was unacceptable. You're not allowed to have emotion, and you are problematic because you're too sensitive. You're problematic because you need love. Like, you need my presence, you need my guidance, and that's problematic. You're the problem, not me. You are the problem. So I've incorporated that, and I still hold that within myself, that I'm problematic and whatever it is, I have these shortcomings, and I certainly do, whatever, but voices that are not my own that I carry. So what's going on there? So again, coming from the unconscious, if you want to call it, so to speak, fueled by the unconscious, the false self is. And then, so what was my point? Because I haven't got there yet. I wanted to make my point. Let me just press pause and think about this. Yeah, I remember now. So I was talking about evil, right? And evil being what is unconscious. Okay, that's just kind of my definition. I'll tell you how does evil feel? Let's put it into emotion. Let's put it into, not as a sensation, but let's put it into an emotion. Okay? Let's put it into emotion. When I think of certain people in my life, okay, so let me tell you a quick story. There was a guy, his name was Oscar Pistorius. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. It was a famous story. On Valentine's Day, he murdered he shot through a door in his house, and he killed his girlfriend. What made him famous was he won the gold at the Paralympics. He wasn't born with legs, only up to his knees, and then he had those blades, I think they're called. And he was very good at it, and he was, people thought he was a good-looking guy, and and he came from a wealthy family, and he had prestige, he had status. People knew about him. And then, he also had an incredible temper, like a short fuse. And one day, it was Valentine's Day, it was in the morning, and it was never proven that he did it. It was never proven that he did it, but it was obvious that he did. He claimed that he thought that there were burglars coming through the window, and that he called out to her and he didn't hear her. But, I mean, if the glove fits, we'll get into O.J. Simpson as well, in regards to, just again, rage, unconscious behavior, and the pain. Okay, so, and then there was a trial that went on for a long time. It was in the newspaper. It was worldwide. This Oscar Pistorius trial, it was worldwide. And I mean, they went to the court, and they showed the pictures. It was intense. And you can just imagine, the parents of this young woman. I love it when people say, oh, and she was so beautiful, like she was a model. And people say, like, it's almost such a shame, It was such a shame and she was so beautiful too. That person's life had value because they were better looking than somebody who's not. It's crazy, but that's how we work. I see it, people slip up with it. Anyway, and she was an attractive woman, and she was a model here, Reva Steenkamp or something like that. Now, can you imagine the pain that their parents felt? That heartbreak of what happened, and what a senseless crime. And in himself, for Oscar, he lost it. He lost his cool. He you know, they were obviously having an argument or something like that, and he's got an inferior complex for being small, you know, not having legs, and probably teased when he was, you know, even though he's won the Paralympics for sprint, you can be sure that that's not enough for the false self. He still feels small and inadequate and probably vulnerable. And he probably sees through the lens of people that if you criticize him, like even like in a small way, it's an attack. So he sees just even any sort of criticism, which criticism can be very helpful as an attack. Even just saying something to like, Oscar, you know, you arrived late a lot, and then he will lose it because he's seeing through the lens. You know, he's a victim, unconscious. He's growing up. You know, he feels vulnerable in life. He feels like he's not properly a man, and whatever it is. Now he's got to act out. But that acting out and that kind of behavior, and look what it's done. I'm giving a small case here, but it doesn't matter. It's a microcosm. But for those parents, and their trial went on for a very long time. And to understand that this young man lost his cool, and at that price they lost their daughter. And apparently she was a wonderful person. She was like a good person, you know. She, whatever that means, she was just somebody, you know, people looked up to, that she liked. She was just a decent person. That evil that happens, and the pain that the parents are feeling, and the loss that the parents are feeling, the heartbreak that they are feeling, that's evil. That's what evil does. You're telling me that's not evil? That's an unconscious action? What about A.J. Simpson? That was just somebody else came to mind. He didn't actually ever seem to, you know, feel regret or remorse. You know, he played innocent within it. And then he came out like a year ago with an interview, like a hypothetical, what if I did it? And they had people, you know, body analysis guys, professionals, analyze him, and they said he's 100% telling the truth when he talks about what he hypothetically would happen, you know. And people lose their lives, and I'm just giving small examples of small, you know, it's minute. But I'm asking you in your own personal life, think of a time where evil impacted you, where maybe it was you were, I don't know, your girlfriend cheated on you, whatever that means, you know, or your brother did something, or your sister, or a parent, or something like that. There's been something in your life that when you think about it, it hits you in your gut. It like, so gives you a frog in your throat. Like if I think about the things that happened to me, it makes me feel nauseous. Like one or two of the things. If I really sit here and allow myself to go into one of the things, and a lot of them have been from this lady Leanne who I've mentioned in my previous recordings, the things that she has done to me. And it's more so the people, but it doesn't have to be somebody that you know in your life, but let's just say maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe it is. Maybe you lost a loved one because of they were run over by a drunken driver. You know, I was watching something of this woman on I don't know what it was, where she was drinking and she was way over the limit. I think it's a woman in her 60s, and she was like, her husband was a known alcoholic, and he knew something was going to happen. And she veered off the road and she smashed into a building, and it was a child's birthday party. And two children lost their lives. Oh, that's evil. That's unconscious. Tell me, how's that not unconscious? Somebody who, you know, culture makes you unconscious to do its bidding and its will. Tell me that culture is not evil. So my point is that, you know, I don't want to do it for too long, because it's so painful, the things that have happened to me through this person. And I can name about probably like 3 major ones, but there's probably a countless of things that she has done, and she does them, you know, time and time again. And people say, well, why? I've got very little to do with her, in the sense that I'm just there for what I feel is I'm a father to this boy, you know. My world was over when she fell pregnant. My world fell to pieces. I was in denial for a long time. But then I came to the party. She only let me meet him when he was 7 months old. She controls everything. She says sometimes I can only see him twice a week. Sometimes, you know, you can't see him at all. it all depends on her convenience. When it's convenient for her, when she feels like it. But he doesn't go to school. Not that I really want him to go to school. He's going to be 3.5. He hasn't even got his birth certificate because, and yet, his mother has got the biggest grandiose idea of herself. She is just whatever, but she knows, she's got split self. She's like, a split personality. She does, on the one hand, and then sometimes I'm so appreciative for being in her life, for supporting her and her other children, and then other times I'm absolute the devil incarnate. So just depending on the day, depending on the hour of the day, depending on her mood. This is kind of what I was talking about in regards to when there's no self, you're just a conglomerate of mood swings, of emotions, highs and lows, whatever it is, feelings of emptiness, constant emptiness, then feeling of meaningful all of a sudden one time, and whatever it is, it's impulsiveness. There's no self-control. It's chaos. It's just unadulterated chaos. So when I think about the things that she has done to me, and whether it's intentional, not intentional, it's just a byproduct of her erraticism or something, of just being so, disfragmented and everything else. And that's what the word is, unconscious. And for me, whether she's doing it herself, she's an evil person, or it's just evil in general, I'm saying that unconsciousness in this way is evil. And I want you to feel for yourself, think about something. Maybe you have nothing, which shouldn't be the case because you're a sensitive person, and we live in a world of vultures and sharks and snakes and predators and narcissists and all of those things. It could be your bank, but your bank is not so personal because the bank is a business. It's not a personal thing towards you. It could be the government, but it's not a personal thing to you. What about the people that are sitting in prison that were wrongfully arrested because the policeman was having a bad day and felt to he was having a Leanne moment and decided to arrest this guy on the side of the street, and to what's it called, his power, to just feel powerful. Or maybe he didn't meet his quota of how many people he needs to arrest, so he just went and randomly arrested these people. These are just small stories that I'm talking about. What about gangs? What's that country with that prison where they put the gang members? I think it's El Salvador. No, I don't know. I can't remember. And they put all the prisoners together, like in one massive cell, and they sleep on, metal beds with no bed sheets, and the lights are on all the time, and they put both gang members together in the prison. I mean, it's awful. But these gang members and what they did and how it was, our culture is unconscious. Get rich or die trying. That's what a lot of music is, and it's destructiveness. In certain ways. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. But what I'm saying is that you, in your own personal life, it wasn't necessarily done to you deliberately. It was just an overflow of, this kind of this type of evil in this person. So again, I wouldn't necessarily say that people are evil, but I would say that evil inhabits them. Like people aren't oxygen. They're not oxygen. They're made up of oxygen, but they carry oxygen. And that's what I'm saying, is that they are being used by the forces of the unconscious, and the unconscious is evil. That's it. And what the unconscious does, if you want to know what evil is, whatever hurts in a non-constructive, positive way. You can say, well, what is positive way? Well, a birth is positive. The birth process, the birth pains are positive, because you're giving life. Surgeries, let's just say, are positive. There are things that hurt. The truth hurts. It's a positive thing. But when things hurt in this level of dimension, for no significance of just the fact that where it came from was an unconscious place, that is evil. And it's not just what people do to other people, it's what people do to animals, what people do to the plants, what people do to nature. That's it. You could even say almost sometimes that a monkey is evil or carries evil. Again, evil is unconscious. It's just a nature. You see, I've spoken about this before. Monkeys that kill the young, infantilization, whatever it is. For their own benefit, for their own glory, for their own right to claim to the throne. That's it. It's an unconscious act. And I believe that human beings came into this world, that nature produced human beings or something. We came out of nature, as Alan Watts says, the world peoples. And we came here for another reason, is to increase, to bring consciousness into the world. I think only some people, not the majority. I don't think so. I don't think it's reasonably possible that. I think it's like a very small percentage, of conscious, of the responsibility for a few people, that the consciousness the responsibility falls on a few people's shoulders, to carry the flames of consciousness and goodness. And that's what is goodness? I don't want to get into it, I'm tired now. I've done like 3 recordings today. But what is goodness? Goodness is healing. Goodness is wholeness. Goodness is elevating things higher, increasing its value, its significance, its meaning, putting it whole, putting it together whole in a whole. What is evil? Breaks things apart, destroys, divides. What does hate do? Hate divides. What does love do? Love joins. So depending what word you want to use, good, love, evil, what is the other one? Bad, I don't know. Anyways, but that's the thing in my life, if we want to know firsthand on a feeling sensation, that's what I just need to do. But I don't want to do it for too long, because it's got an energy to it whereby it depletes my own energy, where it makes me feel sick, like I got to feel like I got to lie down, I feel nauseous, because that's unconsciousness. That's the energy of the unconsciousness. It drains you, it destroys you, it creates chaos within you. So it's not really advised, I mean for myself at least, to sit and think about the things that I've been through, and the thing is that, again, there's nothing I can do. I can't go and beat Leanne up. There's parts of me that would love to, but I would never lay a hand on her, but I would love to, and I'd feel a sense of satisfaction. You see it in the movies, like Batman seeking out the revenge of the people who killed his parents, the Joker, whoever it was, I don't know. But it's like that driven force in order to do that. I think about how people react to crimes that are committed to their loved ones, and their response that it comes with. Think of that movie with Matthew McConaughey and Samuel L. Jackson. And Samuel L. Jackson's got 2 daughters, and they were taken advantage of and killed by whatever it is, and then what's the saying? He says, I hope they burn in hell, or something like it. That anyways, the response to evil. But for myself, there's nothing I can do, and I'm still held hostage by this person, by this entity, by the unconscious, because I can't walk away from my son. I can't abandon him, because I'm just leaving him to basically be devoured by his devouring mother. I can't have that on my conscience. I'm sorry. Some of you might say, well, Aaron, you got to take care of yourself. Let me tell you, mind your own business. Because you don't know. You haven't been in my shoes. And if you want to be there for me, just listen. I'm not asking you for advice, because there's nothing you can tell me. Well, I'm saying, don't give me practical advice. All you can do is empathize with me, because you honestly don't know. You're not in my shoes. You're not in my day-to-day situations. You don't actually know yet. Whatever I tell you won't have the full picture. My mother has the full picture, and she'll never give me advice. And she'll say, "Oh, you got to do this. You got to go to the lawyers." Oh, I love that. I love it when people say you got to go to the lawyers. You know who you're dealing with here. This is somebody who would disappear overnight because they don't answer to anybody. No one can hold her feet to the fire. Nobody. Doesn't matter. The police, whatever. She would disappear. And like I'm saying, she's like a child, because she operates at a 3-year-old level, because that's what narcissists do. And she would land up, going to some dangerous suburb, taking her 3 children with packed bags or whatever it is, rocking up, no money in the bank. Who knows? Sleeping on the step of a church, hoping that her church is going to take her in. Because what I want is, not full custody. I don't want to be that, but I want to spend a few hours with my son and not having to beg and having to have just tolerate the worst kinds of unconscious behaviors and not being able to do anything about it. So there's no point in me going no contact with her, because I need to speak to her in regards to when I'm allowed to spend time with my son. If you see what this woman says to me, not very different to that woman in America. They're both the same. It's the same template. It's the same unconsciousness. It's the same narcissism. It's the same kind of software that's running in them. It's the same 2.50, whatever it is, and it's updated by the culture as well. They just get downloaded. It's like ants who just communicate with each other beyond words. There's a synergy. There's something going on there. They're exchanging data and information. Well, they're not talking to each other. The ants are telling them, they're having a whole discussion of which way to go, this whatever, I've got this, come help me, help me lift this. Let's go under the branch, let's go around the branch, let's go under the door, let's go, having conversations all the time. Help me here, you at the back, pull. They're going, hundreds of thousands of them living in like a little space, and they know where to go, they know what to do, they're all on a mission. But what is that? Because there's something there. There's a force at play there. There's a force at play everywhere in nature. Different forces at play, different energy vortexes or something or other. I don't know. So it's the same with us as human beings. It's just, you just get downloaded from, we're all supporting this war now. Woof, okay, we're all wearing masks now. Woof. We just get downloaded. It's just wirelessly, because that's what we carry. If we carry the ability for clairvoyance, and we have space for spiritual things, ESP, many things, telekinesis. If we have these devices, then we have the device to receive as well, and we've got no firewall up. We're not even aware that this exists within ourselves. So as the global unconscious, like the 100th monkey effect, or the person who did the first, who beat the first 100-meter sprint or something like that. Whatever it is, it's just a culture, and that's the super ego. What is the ego in ourselves in the first place? It's you can't point to it. It's not an object. It's not abstract. It hasn't got an age or a width or a depth or a size or a color. It's not that. These are just forces at play. And they connect. So there's the super ego, which is culture, and there's the ego. So as the culture gets worse, people get worse. Are you telling me that, it can't be that? Really? Then how do you get somebody who is, I'm saying, full-blown narcissism, who lives in Pakistan, and another person who lives in Melbourne, and they've never met each other, and yet they'll have the exact same traits, the exact same characteristics? And I can speak to the wife of that guy in Pakistan, and I can talk to her about her husband if she tells me, and she'll be like, how do you know my husband? You've never met him. I said, I don't need to meet him. And I can speak to the man in Melbourne and speak to him about his girlfriend, and he's a covert narcissist or whatever. And I said, how do you know? You're brilliant. You can read my mind. I said, no, it's a template. It's a template. It's an archetype type of thing. What is an archetype? We live in a mystical world. We're just so far removed from it, so foreign to us. But we bathed in it, we immersed in it. It's everywhere. For goodness sake. yeah, so I don't know. That's my life, and I'm on front row seat with it. I deal with it every single day. I'm always surprised how dark it can get, how somebody can get so dark, and everything else. Yeah, so woe is mankind. But it is what it is. It teaches me things, and sometimes I'm not at peace with it. Sometimes I'm like I can't agree with the universe, or the cards that I have been dealt, and I argue with it, and I fight against it, and I'm very upset, and I'm very cynical, and I think it's all for nothing, and I think I'm just being messed around. And why can't I have support? Why can't I find support in my personal life? Why can't I find a nice lady to spend some time with? I mean, I am a man. I'm going to be 45. Can't I just have some company, even if it's on the weekends, even if it's once a week? Just somebody, a decent person. But I can't find, whether it be a woman or a man, I can't find. So this is the cards I have been dealt. I'm not happy about them, and so sometimes I can sort of accept it sometimes and be okay with it, and understand for its bigger and higher purpose. And I'm here for a very short amount of time, and because of the sort of soul level that I'm on, or whatever it is, my level of consciousness, I'm really required and pushed to the limits to do the best that I can in the shortest amount of time. So it's going to be freaking hard. And these things from time to time make sense. But then there's many days where it doesn't, and I just feel like, I just can't wait for my final breath. Seriously. And I know that sounds depressing and despairing, but if I've done a good enough job, and I know where I'm going, well, I have a sense of it most of the time, going home, then what's the problem? I mean, I talk a brave talk. I'm not saying that push comes to shove about it, but it would be beautiful. I'm saying on the other side, it's no question beautiful. I think I've done a good enough job, and it's bloody hard. It is. It's gut wrenching, So I'm getting a lot of soul tokens and whatever it is. It's just great. Sometimes I feel that nothing matters. I'm telling you. Sometimes I get into such despair when I'm dealing with this person, one individual, one unconscious evil person, one person. That's all that it is. Most, no question about it. That's all that it is. One person that I'm so impacted. I'm so hurt. I'm so I don't know what to say, that nothing is justified for what I go through. Nothing makes sense. It's just random walk. It's just chaos. Unyielding chaos for no reason whatsoever. And that's what I feel a lot of the time. That's why I don't care to make YouTube videos. I don't care to talk to people or try and, I mean, my mother, yes, but just in general, I just don't care about much at all. I don't become vicious to other people or cold to other people or project on other people. I don't. But in myself, I feel sometimes like an atheist. I feel like, well, need I say more? But that's how I feel at times. So that's also why I'm doing these recordings again now, because I hope it's going to, help me feel a bit more meaningful and help me feel that what I'm talking about is an actual reality and it has purpose and it's the bigger picture. And that's what I'm connecting with now, and hopefully helping others to connect as well, and other people, giving me the space to share and taking the time to listen. And I appreciate that, and maybe it can help me through the darker nights, and the darker days, which is probably 70% of the time. I mean, like now, I haven't seen anybody. Well, this lady came to buy some clothes. I mean, I don't really know her at all, but for 3 days now. Sorry, what's today? Friday. Yeah, I saw my son on Wednesday, and I went to the meeting. Okay, I went to a meeting last night, but I mean, I'm not really speaking to anybody in AA meeting and NA, because if I don't go to a meeting, then I'm on my own. So I've been on my own for 48 hours. 48 hours on my own, and I'm going to be on my own for I don't know how long. 48 hours now. It'll probably be till the next AA meeting, because I don't know when I'm going to see my son. I don't know when I'm going to see him. It depends on this unconscious person. And remember I told you about this other person in America, this lady who I used to speak to, and I would share like what I was going through in the agony, and I was looking for a friend in her. I was looking, and she was like, she's just a starving mother who's trying to put food on the table for her children, and you come along here and you want to, and like, can you imagine that? Can you imagine being in such a vulnerable place, and this other person sees it as an opportunity to devalue what you're saying? Can you believe that? Like, do you think you would never think that's humanly possible? Like, I mean, I don't really turn to many people. I speak to my mother, and I was speaking to this so-called friend of mine in America, and I never knew about all of these things. And I used to open up, and I was losing my mind before. I was really in a bad state about it, and I would share what I was going on, and heartbreak, The time where I can tell you stories where your jaw would be on the floor. What I've had to go through with this Leanne person, you wouldn't believe it. And I shared one of these stories with this so-called friend of mine in America, and she like scolded me because like I even had an opinion on her, and I wasn't just and she messed with me. She'd be like, you should be thanking her and being by her side instead of like laughing that you hold all the cards. I just like twist my mind. I was so gaslighted. I didn't know whether I was coming or going. But there was an element of being like, it's your fault, like everything is your fault. It's all your fault. It's not her. Do not blame her. Do not call her that, whatever it is. She's perfectly right and good in her place. Sometimes she was, and then other times she was the devil incarnate. I wasn't sure which one it was. But can you imagine when you're down and out, when you're experiencing that harrowing pain and loss and the experience of such evil, and you go to somebody else and all they can do is make you feel 100 times worse? What do you know what we're dealing with here? Do you understand the darkness that we are dealing with here? Do you understand the evil that we are dealing with here? Do we understand it? Can we appreciate it? Do we understand the world that we're living in? Can we appreciate it? Can we wise up to it? Can we see it? Or should we just focus on manifestation and higher vibration and being in the vortex, or focusing on having no self? And just the experience of no self. Therefore you have a feeling of stillness for like 3 seconds. I got something. I don't feel separated for 3 seconds, and all of a sudden you self-actualized. There's no self. There's no you. There's no other. And the stuff is pushed. But anyway, I don't want to get into it, but it's ridiculous. That's evil. That's evil. That's unconsciousness. That's unconsciousness. I understand if Neo-Advaita is taught in a certain way, but the way that it's peddled and romanticized and all of those things is pure evil. Pure evil. No question about it. I'm getting carried away. But let us not forget, let us not drop our guard down. Let us not be caught unaware and think this is just all kumbaya, or this is just like cool psychedelic, sort of trance-like, sort of fringe-like, sort of, just our own, to beat of our own drum or something like that. It's not like that at all. Whatever labels or past cultural, whatever it is, trends, it's nothing like that. Nothing like that. It's nothing like that. Yeah. Alright, I'm getting carried away. But I do appreciate you taking the time and listening, so thank you for that. Okay, take care.